So in episode 1 of Ahsoka, there's a scene where Sabine's laying in her bed and you can see Ezra's helmet sitting on a shelf next to her. Well, that made me want to make my version. Here I have a 3D printed Stormtrooper helmet, actually Scout Trooper helmet that I did about 5 years ago. I recently got a Hasbro Scout Trooper helmet, so that leaves this one available to do something with, and I decided to turn it into Ezra Bridger's. I start by taping up the areas that I don't want to paint, and then removing the chin strap. And then after I remove the chin strap, I start to take the front visor off. Back when I printed this, I used Bondo for finishing the helmet. You can see the pink from the Bondo as I remove the hinge. I no longer use Bondo for multiple reasons. One of the reasons is it's not as flexible as the stuff I use today, such as the modeling paste. And there is a crack I still need to repair in the face mask on the visor part. It got worse as I put the visor back on and put pressure on it, so I will have to be fixing that in the near future. Most of the painting is done with rattle cans, and I do that outside. I currently don't have anything set up to record while I'm painting outside. I don't think you want to see a shaky cam footage of me trying to hold my camera with one hand and my paint can with the other. So I painted white on the visor and I'm waiting for it to dry so that I can apply the stencil. While that's drying, I'm adding the pinstriping and having fun trying to do that while I'm eyeballing it. I'm taking most of my references from the Rebels scenes that you see on the pictures behind the helmet there on the desk. I'm not trying to be perfect. This is for my display in my room, and I've never tried to be perfect when I do my Star Wars replicas. That's just not my forte. So after the paint on the white was dry, and I probably should have waited another extra day, I only got it dry to the touch, I add the stencil. This is printed with removable vinyl, but just because it's removable doesn't mean it's not going to pull up the paint if the paint's not fully cured. So I get the stencil on both sides, trying to line the straight edge of, I guess that's a bird, with where there's a seam in the visor. And then I'll take it back outside and I will go over it with yellow again. But before I go out to paint it with the yellow, I decided to start taping off for hand painting the nose. I can't find any of the footage that I did for painting the nose. So the next thing that I have footage of is me painting a couple of the grills that go in the back. This is a mix of red and yellow. It's supposed to make it an orange. It kind of came out more brown over the gray primer, but it kind of fits because the majority of the helmet is yellow and brown, so I kind of like it and I'm sticking with it. They're just held in place with a little bit of super glue. And again, in a hurry to get this done, you can see I already pulled some of the paint off just with my thumb. Here you can see the front paint job that I did by hand that I don't have the footage for. It's just done with Vallejo acrylic paints. There's a red. I didn't have a gray, so that's a mix of black and white to get a gray. If you're going to do that, my suggestion, one thing that I don't learn from my own mistakes, is mix up more than you need, because if you run out and your color mix on the next go around isn't exactly the same, you're just doubling your effort. I'm gluing the hinges so that they are glued to the visor, so as the visor opens and closes, the outside hinge will actually rotate with it. You can see here the little bit of yellow showing through from where when I pulled the vinyl sticker off from my template, it took some of the paint with it. Being I'm going to give it a little bit of weathering, I'm not worried about that. I'm going to leave it. But if you wanted a pristine print, you really need to give it the proper time to cure the paint before moving to the next step. So in the Rebels cartoon, he has this design in the back. I'm kind of trying to mimic that, but I didn't want to go too overpowering with it. So I have this orange that I'm painting here, and then I'm going to paint a dark brown just to give another color to the print. This was also fun when you're making stencils for a curved surface and you make the stencils flat. Getting them to line up is really difficult. I did my best to get it lined up, and it came out pretty good considering I didn't think about the fact that I've got a compound surface that I'm going to be putting it against. They're not letting my engineering training from when I was younger actually kick in. So I use a sponge brush and a wet paper towel to weather. This is just black acrylic paint that I'm forcing into some of the crevices and the corners, and then I wipe off. I will take a paper towel and actually wet it with 91% alcohol and wipe off in areas. You got to be careful when doing that, because what it does is it will actually remove the acrylic paint, not the rattle can paint, but the acrylic paint. I sometimes will do it like you can see here in the nose. I did that with the alcohol, and it gives it a worn look just as if you were to sand it. I think it came out pretty good. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you think I should add something to it, or if it's good the way it is.